Welcome to Live Daf, your online Daf Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem, welcome back to today's Daf Yomi, which is MOED KATAN Daf Yud Beis. We begin right on top of the Yamid. Amar Shemuel, Makablei Kiboilis. You have a non-Jew, a Nachri, who accepts a contract from a Yisrael. He's going to build him a house. Can he do work on Shabbos? It depends. If he's within city limits, some Mefarshim learn, within 2,000 Amma, which case the city dwellers will wander about and perhaps notice the Nachri building the home, and will perhaps assume that the Yisrael hired him as a day laborer, which is us, or you can't have a Nachri do work for you on Shabbos if it's a direct hiring. So although in this case, it's not really a concern because he's Makabel Kiboilis, it's a contract. He's doing the job. He's doing the project. It's not a time-related type of project. It's not a Shabbos-related. But since it's B'teichat Tchum, it can create the wrong impression. Perhaps people will think he hired him for today. Also, you can't go ahead and do that. But if it's outside city limits, outside the municipal boundaries, in which case there are no Yisraelim wandering about, it's mutter, because technically you haven't hired him to work today. Amar Papa, even though we speak about outside the Tchum being mutter, that's only said El de Lekav Masa, the Mekaver Lahasam. There is no other city near that construction project. Aval Ika Masa, the Mekaver Lahasam, but suppose there is another city nearby, also because although the local townspeople won't wander about, won't reach that area, but the community living next door to that project will notice what's going on. Omar Rav Mesharshi, V'chileka Masa, the Mekaver Lahasam. Here's another condition. Even when there is no city near that construction site, Nami Layamar, even there, we don't allow it only Ela b'Shabbos on Shabbos or Yom Tov. It's not common for people to be traveling during those days. So since it's in the middle of nowhere, nobody will notice. Nobody will draw the wrong conclusions. But on Chol HaMoed, plenty of people are traveling to and fro on their Chol HaMoed trips. Everybody's all over the place, and they'll notice that construction happening. Asr, he cannot proceed on Chol HaMoed. There's a story involving Mazutra, brother of Nachman. Banulay, he had non-Jews building for him in Apadna, a large dwelling. Mekabel Kiboilis. It was a contract. So halachically, technically it would be mutter, since it was chus l'tchum. And what happened? Ikla Rav Safra. Rav Safra visited that home. Rav Huna bar Chinna, they both came, they chanced upon that home, but they refused to enter. Some say, Hu nami lo al b'gavei, he himself. Marzutra Beder of Nachman, who commissioned this project, did not enter that home, did not want to use it. Why? What's wrong with this home? It was a kiboilis, it was a contract, and it was outside the Tchum. Amar Shmuel mekabel kiboilis b'sechat Tchum aser. Shmuel taught us that a construction job, a kabbalah, a contract, not a daily paid wage, is mutter if it's chus l'tchum. B'sechat Tchum aser, chus l'tchum mutter. So what was the problem? What was the concern with this home? Built under these circumstances. Answers the Gemara, Adam chashav shani. A prominent person is different. He's meant to keep a higher bar, a higher standard. People might draw the wrong conclusions from what he's doing. And therefore, he was machmer, or they were machmer, not to use his home. So even though it was permissible, technically it was fine. But since it borders upon Isser, it can be confused with a very similar circumstance, in which case people can confuse things. He wasn't meant to do it. He wasn't meant to carry out this project, and therefore they didn't want to use it. There's another version of what happened. What went wrong with this project? Siyeya betivna bahadayu. He actually helped them. He supplied them with teven, with straw, with building material. Some learn that they would take from his supply on Shabbos, in which case it appeared perhaps like he was actually assisting them in their work on Shabbos. And therefore he refused to use the building. Rav Chama, Sharalahu, he allowed those la'avungari, those fellows who used to set up the tables, the Veirish Galusa, the home of the Reish Galusa, the head of the community in Bavel. So he allowed these fellows lemevad luhavidta, to do their work. Rashi says if the table broke apart, they would repair it. So even though it was perhaps l'tzarech hamoed, but since it's a job, if you're getting paid for it, it's asur. It appears like a weekday activity. That in itself is reason to keep away. So why did he allow them to fix the tables? Amar, he figured like this: Kivan the agar lekashakli. Since they're not really getting paid, not getting a salary, not getting wages, what then? They have some workplace bonuses. They have their free meals. Right? So the Reish Galusa picks up the tab for their meals. Shirushuye, Lashnav, Revach. They just benefit, they profit. Shirushuye hu dekamish sharshile. They just have some profit, meaning they have free meals. Therefore there's no concern. It doesn't appear like they're hired workers. It doesn't contravene the spirit, the ruach, the kedusha of Chol HaMoed. It doesn't appear like a paid job. It appears like they're just repairing on a volunteer basis, and they're getting their free meals on the house. Therefore he allowed it. Tana Rabbanon, Mekablan Kiboylef B'Moyed. One can have a nachri, accept upon himself, commit himself to do a project, right? A contract. You can sign a contract on Chol HaMoed, La'asoysa Lachar HaMoed, provided the work will be done after Yom Tov. U'B'Moyed Asar. But he can't do work on Yom Tov itself, on Chol HaMoed itself, even though it's the guy doing that work. Klal Shadava. We have to follow the rule. Kol Shu'ais. Any type of activity that a Yisrael can do himself, he can instruct a Nachri to do it for him as well. But v'chol she'enoi a type of activity that a Yisrael himself cannot do, likewise he can't instruct a Nachri to do it for him. It's similar to the halachas of Shabbos, and it's mashma and Tosfos. I think it's above Metzir. Tosfos elsewhere that this applies to any type of Isra. You can't do it yourself, you shouldn't ask a guy to do it for you. So you can have him accept a contract, commit to the project. That's fine, as long as he'll do the work after Yom Tov. Tanya, we have another brayso which says, Mekablan kibelos b'moyed. The Nachri can commit himself to a contract on Chol HaMoed, la'asos lachar HaMoed, which would entail doing the work after Yom Tov, but there's another condition here. The Yisrael, who's offering him the contract, who's offering him the job, can't conduct himself like he does during an ordinary weekday. It's not business as usual. He has to withhold a bit. He has to minimize the involvement. You can't measure the product, the material that he's giving him. Can't weigh, nor count, as he does during an ordinary weekday. So today you give it to him just an estimation, in keeping with the spirit of Yom Tov. Tanu Rabbanon, Ein marbiin behema b'chol shel moed on Yom Tov on Chol HaMoed. You're not meant to facilitate mating between the animals. It's also a form of tircha, a form of malacha. Kayetzav, likewise, Ein marbiin b'bchor. You can't do that with a b'chor because the pasuk says lo yisavoid b'bchor sherecha. You can't engage the b'chor in malacha. V'lo b'psulam mikdashim, likewise, a carbon which got a mum and is awaiting pidyon. There as well, you may not do work with that animal. You can't go ahead and facilitate the mating procedure. Tanyidach. Ein marbiin behema b'chol shel moed, right? You can't do that. Rabbi Yehuda, we have an exception. A chamoira, female donkey. Shetava, who's expecting the zachar, who is initiating a mating process. Marbiin ale zachar, we can follow through with the zachar b'fir shalated stana because she might cool off, in which case the opportunity won't return. It's considered davar avid, and davar avid is mutter. Usharkal behemoths, regarding other animals, although we don't actively facilitate the mating process, but we do something. Machnisin oisen lebakrus, we can bring him into the closed enclosed area, the pen, and have them proceed as they usually do. So we don't actually go ahead and facilitate mating directly, but indirectly we can do that. Tanar Rabbanan. In Medairin. Medairin means having animals roam around one's field so that they shed their waste, which actually enhances the field. It's a form of fertilizing the field. You can't do that. But let's say the non-Jewish shepherd shows up with animals. That's okay. He's doing it, not me. But you can't actually help them. Likewise, you can't offer them some help, some helper, who will help them shed their animals of their waste. But let's say the guy, the non-Jewish shepherd, was a laborer. He was hired for the week. So the Yisrael hired him to take care of his animals for the entire week. Sachir Chodesh, the entire month. Sachir Shana, entire year. Sachir Shavua, 7-year undertaking. In this case, there's a het. Why? Rashi says, Ki'ilu shel nachrimhu. It's as though he's engaged in his own personal activity. It's like his job. It's like a contract. He's doing what he's doing because he's committed to doing it. He decided to do it today because it's easy and convenient for him. It's not like he was instructed to do so by the Yisrael. Messiah, in this case, you can help him out. Can give him somebody to help them out. Rabbi adds one more thing. When they do show up, the shepherd comes to your field and fertilizes it. B'Shabbos b'Tova. So although on Shabbos you don't help them out, right? Typically you just let them do it, but you don't actually lend them a hand. But you can show appreciation. B'Yom Tov b'Mezonos. On Yom Tov we go a step further. You can pay for his meal, give him something to eat, as a sign of appreciation. B'Moed b'Schar. On Chol HaMoed, you can even pay him for what he's doing. So you're not directly hiring him. He's coming and he's doing his thing. Then you can show Hakaras HaTov, give him a tip. Amar Rav Yosef, Hilchas HaKarebi, as we just said, that is the halacha. So in the previous mission we discussed a classic case of Davar Ha'aved, where he has olives which are waiting, pressing, and something happens. Davar Ha'aved, he can engage it on Chol HaMoed. V'chein, likewise, you have another case regarding grapes and wine. V'chein mishahia yeinoi b'sei chabar, he has wine already in the wine pit, all pressed. V'iroi avel, suddenly he becomes an avel who's asr b'malacha. What should he do now? You see, wine left uncovered, unsealed, will sour. It's a davar ha'aved. He's going to lose his merchandise. Or it's before Yom Tov. He was processing this wine, and he experienced an unexpected event, an emergency, which held him back from completing the bottling process. And his wine is sitting in the gas, inside the bar, inside the pit. Or the workers misled him. They were supposed to come finish the job, take the yain out of the pit. Right, so it's in a gas, the wine press, that's where it gets pressed. It flows into the bar, into the pit. And they were supposed to bottle it for him, and they didn't show up. Now it's Chol HaMoed. What should he do? Zoyle, if he can pour out the wine, pour it into containers, v'goymer, v'gav kadarke, finish it all off, seal bottles. Rabbi Yossi, right? Rabbi Yossi is the one who holds that a davar of it allows all activities, all steps, all the way to the end without any shinoi whatsoever. Right? The point of davar of it is because what's the whole point of refraining from malacha? Say the Rishonim. What's the whole point of Isra malacha? To facilitate simchas Yom Tov, not to distract him from what he's supposed to do on Yom Tov. But b'simcha Yom Tov, learn and daven and b'samach b'chagecha. But in the case of davar avid, just the opposite. He'll be distracted by the pending disaster, by his financial loss. That's going to take him away from simchas Yom Tov. Chazal determined it's more important. Let him do the malacha, clear his mind, clear his heart, and then that will avail him to simchas Yom Tov. So in any case, Rabbi Yossi says, finish the bottling process. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, you can do something, but don't do it all the way. Fill up the barrels, just cover them up with some planks, so it doesn't really sour. So although they're going to lose their freshness, but that's not enough of a reason to go ahead and do the full sealing process. According to Rabbi Yehuda, even a davar of it is mutter, but not only in a limited fashion. Do something to avoid major loss. And stop right there. Why do we need two Mishnahs? One for oil, one for wine. Utzricha, both Mishnahs are needed. It says the Gemara. If we only have the first Mishnah regarding oil, but we learned that a davar of it allows malacha, I would say by Kamar Rabbi Yossi. In that case, Rabbi Yossi allows finishing the entire process. Mishum de mishcha, because oil, nafish b'seidei, carries great potential loss. It's a very expensive commodity. So therefore, due to its delicateness, go ahead and take care of it properly. But when it comes to wine, which doesn't carry great financial loss, it's not such a sensitive item. Perhaps Rabbi Yossi would agree to Rabbi Yehuda, just do something to avoid actual spoilage, but to keep it fresh, it doesn't justify malacha, and therefore we need a second Mishnah. No. Even in this case, Rabbi Yossi allows full bottling to keep it fresh and top quality. If we only speak about the second Mishnah regarding wine, by Hikam Rabbi Yehuda would say, yeah, over there Rabbi Yehuda says, limit yourself in your activities. Do as much as you need to avoid major loss, but that's it. Because it's only wine, and wine isn't as expensive as oil. When it comes to oil, which carries great financial risk there, perhaps Rabbi Yossi that you can do anything you need. Go all the way till the end, and don't take any risks. Therefore, both Mishnahs are needed. No, in both wine and oil, we have the same machlekes. Rabbi Yehuda says, do what you need to do. Rabbi Yossi says, do what you need to do, whether it's wine, whether it's oil, keep it fresh, keep it good. Rabbi Yehuda says, no. Basic care, yes, but past that is not allowed. In fact, Omar Rav Yitzchak bar Abba man Tana shine b'moed v'davar of it. Who's the man Omar? Who's the Tana? Who applies the concept of shinoi even to a davar of it, even in the case of financial loss? You have to do with a shinoi. You have to deviate and keep you with the spirit of Yom Tov. Who's the shita? That's Rabbi Yehuda, the like Rabbi Yossi. That's not Rabbi Yossi, who clearly says finish the process all the way. Amar Rabbi Yosef, halach Rabbi Yossi, we follow Rabbi Yossi. You don't need to make a shinoi. So the davar of it situation was never included in the Isra Malacha at all. And therefore you can do whatever you need to do from beginning to end. The Bnei Yeshiva asked a shayla, Mirav Nachum writes, Ma'u lemesha, what about sealing? Smearing with whatever it is that you're going to use some sort of material, smearing shut, sealing. Shut chavisa de shichra, a barrel filled with beer for freshness. Can you seal it shut b'chaleh de miyada? Is that okay? Amar lahu Sinai. This is a reference to Rav Yosef, who due to his vast command of Mishnahs and Brises was regarded as Sinai, as Har Sinai. So Sinai, Rav Yosef, Amar halach Rav Yosef. Rav Yosef the Amoira concurs with Rabbi Yossi the Tana. He holds that is the accepted halacha, in which case, no concern. Don't hesitate. Do what you need to. Preserve your beer. Bottle it, seal it, whatever it is. Asks the Gemara, how could you compare beer to wine? Beer is a low-value commodity. Perhaps there's no justification to do malach in that case. Perhaps Rabbi Yossi only allows by wine due to its high value. Would he allow it by beer as well? Answers the Gemara, no. Why does he allow sealing the bottles when it comes to wine? To keep it fresh. Because he's going to experience great financial loss if he doesn't look after his wine properly. When it comes to beer as well, there's some loss involved. True, it's not in the same magnitude as wine, but any sort of loss should be avoided and can be avoided on Chol HaMoed, notwithstanding the fact that there's a malach involved. Damar Bai, as Abaye tells us, Amrli, my caretaker, who would always tell me, so his adopted mother, Bar Shis Savi, if you have a container which contains 6 sa'ah of beer, Vishia, and it's properly sealed, you should, prefer that over a larger container, Bar Tamni, an 8 sa'ah container, larger amount of beer, below Yishia, which was not sealed. So sealed, maintain freshness, and pursue that one over the unsealed one. Therefore, when it comes to Chol HaMoed, you can seal the container of beer as well. Amar Rav Chama bar Gur Yamarav. This is interesting. Hilchos Moed Kilchos Kusam b'halacha. The halachas of Chol HaMoed can be compared to the halachas of the kusim. So Rashi learns that the kusim were they were unpredictable. That was a group of people who had a questionable conversion, and some mitzvahs they adopted, some they neglected. Hilchas Chol HaMoed can be equated to the halachas of the kutim. What does that mean? What's the point of this equation? Amar Rav Daniel bar Katina Amarav Loimar. What it means to say is shein akuros. It's like a barren woman. If ein lemedei zumizu, and they can't learn one from the other, which means each halacha stands alone, just like by the kutim. Heaven knows why they chose this one over that one. Each one is independent of the other. There's no way to know, no way to figure which ones they keep, which ones they don't. They keep this, not that, not that. Likewise in Chol HaMoed, it's very hard to compare, to equate, to connect. Chachamim knew the exact guidelines and what tools to apply, what formulas to apply, which would be matter some halachas and not the others. So it's like an isha akarak, a barren woman. All she has is herself without offspring. Each halacha stands alone, independently, and cannot be compared to another halacha. Sometimes you can have one halacha, one case is mutter, and the other case, which is so similar to the first case, be aser. The Gemara will tell us an example. Damar Shmur. Zoivsin kuzita. You can seal shut with zephes, with tar. You can smear a kuzita, a small size container, to keep its content fresh, whether it's wine or whatever, right? Vein zoivsin chavisa. But you can't do the same thing to a large barrel. That's Shmuel's opinion. Small, yes. Large, no. Rav Dimi ben Ado Amar, he says just the opposite. Zoivsin chavisa. You could smear the large barrel. Vein zoivsin kuzita, but not the small barrel. Why? Explains the Gemara. Because each one was on a different track. Mar chayish lipseda. Rav Dimi was concerned about financial loss. That was his guiding light. And therefore he says, a large barrel, if it goes bad, you're going to lose a lot of money. So that allows. But a small container of kuzita, it's at most just a few pennies. You can't do malacha for that. So he was working with the hefsed factor. Mar chayish latircha. Shmuel was more concerned about exertion, about tircha, about effort. So he says, look, notwithstanding the fact that the large barrel carries within it a larger, potentially larger loss of money, it doesn't matter, because that's too much tircha, which doesn't justify. You can't do it on Chol HaMoed, whereas a small kuzita, a small container, a little smear is okay. So you see that you just can't figure. You can't figure it out on your own. There's no guessing. Each one has its own circumstance, its own situation, its own guidelines. Follow the halachas as stated, without connection and conclusions. You can't learn one from the other. Amar Bai Naktinan, we have a Kabbalah from our Rabbeim. Hilchos Moed Kilchos Shabbos. We compare the halachas of Chol HaMoed, the halachas of Shabbos. On Shabbos, we know there are three categories. Typically, a malacha carries within it a potential for misa, right? If it's bemezid, there's misa, there's chatos, if it's b'shogeg. Then we have a case where it's not awesome in haTorah, only midrabanan. It's potter, right? It's potter, but it's still awesome midrabanan. We have mutter lechatchila, three different categories: mutter, awesome midrabanan, awesome midarais. On Chol HaMoed, we have similar categories. We have aser, and there's no penalty because there is no malchus by Chol HaMoed. That's even though there's perhaps a pasuk, right? Some Rishonim learn that it's the Raisa, but it's called a lav shebaklalis. It's a very general lav, and there's no malchus. Bottom line, there's no malchus for the melachas of Chol HaMoed. So it's potter aval aser. There's a iser, but it's not going to carry with it a penalty, a malchus, an einish. That's one category. And we have cases where it's mutal chatchila. Yesh men potter aval aser. Some melachas are potter. There's no einish involved, but it's us. You may not do it. V'yesh men mutal chatchila. In some cases, we allow it all the way. So, it has some similarity to Hilchos Shabbos. We have different categories, Some things are mutter, some things are asr. And even if it's asr, doesn't necessarily mean there's going to be an einish. It's asr, but it's pater from einish. Continues the Gemara, Rav Huna chatztu lechatztu. Rav Huna had a field, and he allowed them to cut off his wheat, to harvest his crop, b'mayada on chol hamayit. Eisvei Rabba bar Rav Huna Rav Huna. So his own son, Rabba, the son of Rav Huna, asked his father, there's a brayso which says as follows: Toichnen kemach b'mayit. One can grind flour on chol hamayit litzarech hamayit only if it's for the sake of Yom Tov. V'shaloi litzarech hamayit asur. But if it's for after Yom Tov, you can't engage in this type of malacha. The brayso continues: Davar sha'avot. If you have something where you're facing financial loss, if you neglect it, b'mayit, unless you take care of it, look after it on chol hamayit, mutar l'soyse b'mayit. In that case, you can engage in that activity on chol hamayit. But davar she'enoi avot b'mayit, something which does not have that characteristic of davar avot, which would require it to be done b'mayit, asur, in that case you can engage. When is this heter applied? When do we allow a davar avot to be taken care of on chol hamayit? That's only by something which is detached. But if something is growing from the ground, in which case it creates a scene, it's parhesia, it's a public spectacle. Even if it's totally going to go bad. It's going to go bad. You're going to get ruined. It's going to get ruined. You're going to lose the crop. You can't do it. So how could you allow them to harvest your crop on chol hamayit? Say it's a davar avot, but it's mechuber l'karka. The brayso continues: V'im ein lo ma'yochel. Suppose the farmer has nothing to eat. In this case, we make exception. You can do for immediate use. All these malachas, kaitzer, you can harvest a ma'amer, and bundle, v'dash, and thresh, v'zora, and winnow, u'boirer, pick out the pebbles, v'teichen, and grind, u'bavad shala yidosh b'paris. So even if this fellow needs it for immediate use, he has to do it manually. You can't use paris, cows, because it's not business as usual. You have to do things in a downgraded fashion, in a low-key manner. In any case, the brayso clearly would not allow any malacha engagement if it's mechuber l'karka, unless he has nothing to eat, which wasn't the case over here. Rav Huna had plenty to eat. How can you allow them to do this for you? How can you allow them to cut your wheat on chol hamayit? Amar later, Rav Huna responds, I understand it's a brayso, but yichidohi. You meant to know that it's an individual. It's a das yachid. It's Rabbi Yosef's shita v'lo yisvir lan kavasei. We, the chacham, don't agree with him. We don't differentiate between attached and detached. If you can do it, you can do it. If you can't, you can't. It's irrelevant of whether it's talosh or mechuber. And in my case, the crop was going to go bad. It was going to get ruined unless it was immediately harvested. This Sanya we find in a brayso which says like this: Klal Omar Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel, Mishum Rabbi Yosi. Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel quotes Rabbi Yosi, who is the man de Omar of this shita, davar atolosh min karka, something that's off the ground. Afilu miksasay avad muter. Even if there's going to be just a minor financial loss, if it's not tended to, muter, you can go ahead and take care of it. But if it's still attached, in which case it's davar b'farhes, it's a public event, it's clear for all to see. Afilu kulay avad asur. In that case, it's too grand an involvement, too big of an activity. Even if the whole thing is going to go bad, you cannot do it on chol hamayit. It goes against the spirit of the Yom Tov. People can lose their respect for chol hamayit. So this is Rabbi Yosef's shita. True, it's Rabbi Yosef, but we don't agree with Rabbi Yosef in our case. According to our shita, whether it's talosh or mechuber, it's the same thing. Davar avot is mutter. Asks the Gemara, I don't understand. You tell me this brayso is Rabbi Yosef, right? Vi Rabbi Yosef, but according to him, yidish name b'paris. Why does the brayso say that when you're going to look after the item that's going to go bad, you can do some threshing? Sorry, we're talking about a case where he has nothing to eat, right? So you do the malachas as per need. But the brayso adds, don't use paris. Do it manually. It's not business as usual. Now, according to you, you just told me, the author of this brayso is who? Who's speaking? Rabbi Yosef. He's the one that says, Mechubel Kaka, keep away from. Now remember, Rabbi Yossi was the one who told us, right over here in Amud Aleph, that when it's something that you can do on Chol HaMoed, there are no limitations, no restrictions. So why do we not allow him to use the parais? Let him thresh as the way he always does, conventionally, without deviation. Rabbi Yossi, Yiddish, let him use his cows. The Amar, Rabbi Yitzchak bar Abba, didn't he tell us that man Tana Shinu b'moed? Who's the Tana who requires Shinu, deviation, limitation, restrictions on Chol HaMoed, b'davar of it, even when it's something that's mutar to be done like a davar of it? Who's the shita? It's not Rabbi Yossi, like Rabbi Yossi, because according to Rabbi Yossi, if it's mutar, it's a blank check. It's mutar all the way. So if you can do it, use your parais, use your equipment. Amalach. So he responds to you like this. Hachinami. Here as well. Kivan de kol yoyma la beparis daishi. He says, look, you're mistaken. The fact that we don't allow paris has nothing to do with shinoi. You know, typically, on an ordinary weekday, you think everybody uses paris? Kol yoyma la beparis daishi. Not everybody walks around using their paris. Many times they do it manually. Who? So now as well, when the Brisa doesn't allow using paris, it's not to accomplish shinoi. No, you're wrong. It has nothing to do with shinoi. We're not trying to achieve deviation and shinoi. Rather, the reason why the Brisa says don't use your paris is for a different reason. And Rashi says, Mishum da'av shemilsi. You're creating a ruckus, a scene. Business as usual. You bring out the cows, you're starting to thresh. It's not Yom Tov Dik. And that's why he doesn't allow it. So it's not a general halacha, you have to be mishana, you have to downgrade. No. It's because this is going a bit too far. So bottom line is, davar of it is mutter. According to Rabbi Yossi, you don't even need to do a shinoi, blank check. Do it the way you usually do. However, Rabbi Yossi has a chumrah as well. Mechubel karka you shouldn't be doing. Whereas Rav Huna says, look, Chacham disagree, and therefore he allowed harvesting his crop, which was a case of davar avid, even though it was from the mechuber. Tanu Rabbanan, Teichnem b'moed litzorech hamoed. This is the brayse that we just had a minute ago. You can grind wheat into flour for the sake of moed. But if it's for later use, for after Chol HaMoed, you cannot do it on Chol HaMoed. However, continues the brayse. Suppose he ground a large amount, he has some left over. That's okay. Another example. Can chop wood on Chol HaMoed, if it's for immediate use. But if it's for later use, it's asur. But if he chopped some wood and he has some left over, that's okay. He doesn't have to be exact in what he's doing. Matil and shecher b'moed l'tzorech hamoed. You can put together the ingredients. You can process beer on chol hamoed l'tzorech hamoed. V'shelo l'tzorech hamoed asur. But you can't do it for after Yom Tov. V'im hitel v'hoiser. But if he did it and he has some left over, that's okay. He doesn't have to worry about making an exact amount. You can have some left over. Provided this wasn't his initial intention. I'm going to make more for after Yom Tov. So you can make an estimate, a loose amount. Even if some's left over, that's fine. As long as he doesn't initially do a larger amount with the kavana to have leftovers for after Yom Tov. We have a kasha from our brayse which allows harama, allows pretense. Matil and shecher b'moed l'tzorech hamoed. Right? You can make beer for chol hamoed. V'shaloi l'tzorech hamoed asur, but you can't do it for later. Echad shecher tmarim, whether it's date beer, v'echad shecher so'irim, or barley beer, which requires more effort. V'av al b'sheyesh lo yashin. Listen to this. Even though this fellow has a full supply, old beer sitting in his cellar, marim, he can pretend that he doesn't have. He can pretend that he's doing it for chol hamoed. And drink from the new beer. Meaning, this fellow has plenty. It's not technically the tzarech hamoed. He has plenty supply. But I'll say, look, I need beer for today. He'll make it and drink it. That's called ha'aram, even though technically he doesn't need it. But if it doesn't appear, it's not an overt contradiction of Kedushas Yom Tov. Fact is, he's producing it for today. True, he doesn't need to produce, but that's his prerogative. That's called ha'arama. That's mutter. Whereas in the previous price, they were concerned about ha'arama. You have to be honest in your dealings with Chol HaMoed. You do what you need and that's it, without any pretense. Says the Tanohi, this question of whether ha'arama is mutter, pretense is mutter, is Machlokes Tanoim. We find in a different case in Shabbos, the Sanya, ein marimen bekach. A barrel broke apart on Shabbos. You meant to only save. You can only salvage as much wine as you need for the sudos. You can invite some guests over and save for them as well. Concerned about getting over involved and perhaps fixing the barrel. So you have to limit your engagement. You have to limit your involvement only as per personal need or personal plus your guests. But you can't play around. You can't pretend to have invited guests. Well, you know they don't really need that wine. They already passed their suda. You can't make the haram. That's the Tanakama. Rabbi Yehuda holds you could make haram, invite some guests over, even though you know they don't really need that wine. And the point here is, the Mepharshim explain, as long as it's not an overt malacha, it's not nikar, it's not clearly in violation of Shabbos and in violation of takanos, that's okay. As long as it appears okay, that in itself is a limitation. You have to conform to certain guidelines. You have to have guests here. Right? So that in itself restricts you, limits you, and slows you down, and prevents any over-engagement and over-involvement, and perhaps bringing him to fix the barrel. So here as well, when it comes to Chol HaMoed, we want it to look good. As long as you conform, as long as you're doing it in a manner which appears to be in line with the spirit of Chol HaMoed, you're doing it because you're going to drink it today. So although technically you don't really need it because you have others, it doesn't matter. As long as it's packaged in the right way, it fits the guidelines, it fits with the takana, it's okay. So it's actually Machlokes Tanoim. Continues the Gemara. There was a story with Rav. Rav chatztu lei chatzta. So he had workers cut the wheat for him. B'chol d'mayada. Shama Shmuel ikpid. Shmuel heard about it. He was upset. Why? Why did he object? Leima Shmuel ki chidas really? Should we assume that Shmuel holds like the das hayachid, the individual shita, Rabbi Yossi, that one may not engage in malacha if it's mechuber lekarka, even when it's a davar of it? Is that the problem here? Or is that Shmuel's reason for objecting to Rav's activity? No, that wasn't the reason. Chatzda de chiti hava. The lay of a pasuk. We're speaking about a wheat crop, which would not have gone bad had it been left out in the field. And therefore, there was no justification for the harvesting process. And that's why Shmuel was makbid. No, ask the Gemara, V'Rav my time of it. So indeed, why did Rav proceed with this project? Rav simply didn't have what to eat, Chol HaMoed. In which case, it's mutter to do anything. Shmuel, so why did Shmuel object? They didn't conclude the story. They didn't give him all the details. He was missing this vitally important fact. He had assumed the reason was davar of it, but in reality it was because Rav needed to eat on Chol HaMoed. Inami. Another reason for Shmuel's objection, true, it was davar of it. But Adam Chashav Shani. Shmuel, who greatly respected Rav, figured Rav as a Adam Chashav has to take added precautions. He has to keep higher standards so that people don't learn from him. People don't draw any false, any erroneous conclusions from what he's doing. Therefore, don't do anything that even closely resembles a malacha and Chol HaMoed. There's another story with Rabbi Yehuda Kessler, who was not a Tana. Rabbi Yehuda Kessler was an Amora, a grandson of the Tana. In any case, nafak b'chumrasa de medosha. On Shabbos, he comes out to his yard wearing a chumrasa, some sort of ring, the medusha with a coral signet. Okay, that's number one. Number two, va'ashti mai, he would drink water, the achim, which was heated by kfila, a cook, arma, a non-Jewish cook. He wasn't concerned about bishul akum. Shama Rav Ami Ikped. Rav Ami heard about these two things and he objected. Amar Rav Yosef, my time Ikped. Why was he makped? Let's take it apart one by one. Imashum chumras of the medusha. Was it the concern with the fact that he's wearing the signet? Hatanya. We learned in a price. Hashirin, Hanazaman, Atabois, all these pieces of jewelry which were not meant to be worn on Shabbos, as the Gemara in Shabbos explains. There's a concern about removal in the street and carrying it, showing it to a friend. By the way, nowadays we're not makbid on this, but those days there was a concern about removal and displaying it. So although you're not meant to wear these items, but they're not non-kalim, they're still kalim. Harihen kechala kalim, hanatolim b'chatzar. They're still considered a kli which you can move around the chatzar if you need it for its gufay, for its own sake, for its mak. It's not considered like a stone. It has no function. So in this case, he needed the ring for whatever reason. What's the problem? It's not muktzah. So that can't be the concern. Was it the second thing, that he drank that heated water, the achem kfiler amah, which was heated by a guy? What's the problem there? Any item that can be eaten raw, uncooked, there's no concern. If it was cooked by a guy, he's not really accomplishing much. It can be eaten as is. He's not serving you a meal. There's no concern of bishul akum. And says the Gemara, Adam Chashav Shani, once again, since he's a prominent person, people are going to learn from him, therefore he should refrain from anything that remotely resembles an ism. Amar Chanan al Marav. Kaitzitz Adam Dekel b'mayit. Listen to this chiddush. One can go ahead and chop off an entire palm tree on Chol HaMoed, Aval b'she'in etzarech elul n'asayr shalai, even though he just needs the sawdust, a little splinter here and there. That's all. He can do a massive job just for a little bit tayelis of Chol HaMoed. Layet ale abai, the lashon of mekalal. He would negate this type of activity. He didn't like this halacha. To do such a malacha to such an extent for such a small tayelis would be awesome. Rav Ashi, Havale Abba. Rav Ashi owned a forest, Bishlinya, in this town Shalinya. He went to chop some trees there on Chol HaMoed because he needed a small measure, a small amount, some splinters, some pieces of wood. So he went to chop some trees there. Amalei Rav Shila. So Rav Shila was the Rav there, whatever, lived in that town. Amalei Rav Shila Mishlini la Rav Ashi. He tells Rav Ashi, "My da'atich. What's your reason for doing this? Chopping off a tree just because you need a little wood?" The Ka'amar of Chananel, Rav, is it based on that halacha of Chananel, who says in the name of Rav, it's Adam Dekel b'mayit, the person's allowed to cut down a palm tree in Chol HaMoed, Avo b'shein etzarechel and Seir Shalei. He just needs a little bit, a few splinters. Is that your reason? Alayat ala Abaye, but Abaye wasn't too happy with that. Amar lei, so Rav Ashi responded, Lo Shmieli, you know what, I never heard of this halacha, I never heard of Abaye's objection. Kalaima, what he really meant to say is, Lo Shmieli, I don't consider that a concern. I don't hold of Abaye's objection. No, so he continues with his wood chopping, and what happens? Ishtamit narga. The axe flew off the handle, boil mipsikal shake, and almost cut off his thigh. He missed the injury by a hair's breadth. He took it as a sign from Shemayim. I better stop. Shafke. So he left the forest and he canceled the wood chopping activity for the day. V'hadar asa, and he came back home. So even though he himself didn't consider Abaye's objection as a real concern, but apparently Hashem in Shemayim, they figured otherwise, and he decided to be machmer. Rabbi Yehuda, Shara L'me'akar Kitten. Rabbi Yehuda allowed them to uproot, to harvest kitna, the flax. Ulamiktal, this is on Chol HaMoed. Ulamiktal kashusa, and to pick the kashusa vegetable of some sort. Ulamiyakar shumshmi, and to uproot the shumshmi, the sesame plant on Chol HaMoed. Abai asked Rabbi Yosef, what's the reason for this heta? Bishlam Kitna, I understand why he allows picking the flax, chazil chafifa, because that can be used on Chol HaMoed. You can use it to cover some fruits, protect your machal. So there is a tzarech hamoed element here. Kishusa, likewise, when it comes to this kishusa plant, which was used for beer making, chazi l'shichur can be used for beer. Elo shumsimi l'may chazi. What's the point of uprooting the sesame plant? How can that provide Yom Tov benefit? Answers the Gemara, chazi l'nizaye di isbehu, because it has nazi, it has little pits, little seeds, and they can be squeezed into oil on Chol Hamoed, and therefore it's considered l'tzerech hamoed. Rabbi Yanai Havaliyahu Pardis. Rabbi Yanai had a vineyard. The Mata Zimne, it came time to be picked exactly b'choyle the mayad. Oh, so this is the classic case of Davar Ovid. Katve, indeed he picked his grapes because it was Davar Ovid. So everybody noticed what he was doing and what happened. The next year, they all followed his example, Shana. Come next year, Shahayuha, Kuliyam, everybody delayed picking their vineyards, Lepardisayu, L'choyle the mayad. They figured, okay, we're off from work. Perfect time to pick our vineyards. So here we go. They saw something, Adam Gadol, they drew a conclusion, and they applied to their case. Rav Yani was very upset at that. Look, because of me, I caused a michshel, a pitfall. Afkere, Rabbi Yanai, Lepardise, I was shot. Rabbi Yanai decided, I'm going to make my Pardes Hefke this year, as a sort of oynish, as a penalty for bringing about such a michshel. Continues the Mishnah. Machnis Adam Peiroisav Pnei Aganav. Chol Hamoed, he has his peiros. Peiros, by the way, can mean fruit. It can mean all kinds of crops or grain sitting out in the open. He can bring them in on Chol Hamoed to protect them from the ganav. V'shoyle pishtoim in Amishra. Likewise, you can take out the flax from the soaking pool on Chol Hamoed, as we learned earlier. B'shvish le'toiva, they shouldn't get ruined. Provided he can't delay, he can't make the appointment of Chol Hamoed. So if it's product of circumstance, fine, but he can't pre-plan it. In fact, if a person pre-plans this type of activity for Chol Hamoed, he has to let it go bad and lose the entire merchandise. There's a knas d'Rabbanan. Tana. So we learned in a brayso, even though the Mishnah allows you to bring in the fruit to protect them from the thieves, provides he has to bring it in quietly, discreetly, in keeping with the spirit of Chol Hamoed. You know, Taisa has an interesting kash. He says, what could be wrong with bringing peiros in? It's not a malacha. Why would it be asr on Chol Hamoed? So Taisa brings up a tzad, and Taisa later actually confirms it, that, yeah, even something which is just tircha, exertion, work, even if it's not technically, even if it's not really a malacha, like one of the lamates malachas is still be asr on Chol Hamoed. This is an example. Bringing the peiros in, it's not a malacha. But the tircha itself would be a concern, and therefore it's only allowed in a davar ovid. On top of the fact that it has to be done b'tzina, don't make a scene, in keeping with the spirit of Yom Tov. There was a story involving Rav Yosef. Havali Kishuri. He had these beams sitting out in the open, and he wanted to bring them in. So he brought them in during daytime. Amalei Abayis Talmud asks him, Vatanya, don't we have the brayso which says, do it quietly. So you should have waited until nighttime, when the crowds thin out, when it's not such a public scene. Amalei, so Rav Yosef responded, I had that in mind as well. He says just the opposite. You want to do it discreetly and quietly, with less fanfare, do it by day. Why? Even the Belelia, because if it's done at night, you need much. It creates a ruckus. Bo Gavri Yiseri. You need many more people carrying the beams because it's hard to see. Uboy Meducha Denur. You need torches to keep the place lit up. Av Shamus. That creates a ruckus and a scene. So in order to avoid fanfare, you do it by day. That's considered a tzina in this case. Okay, let's do a quick review of today's daf. Shmuel tells us, Mekabli Kiboilis, a non-Jew, commits to a contract. I'm going to build a house for Yisrael. Can he do that on Shabbos as well? He can do so, provided it's out of the Tchum. And we're speaking about Shabbos and Yom Tov, that there will not be any Jewish traffic in that area, as opposed to Chol Hamoed, where he should refrain. Just as you can't do a malacha yourself on Shabbos, Yom Tov, Chol Hamoed, you shouldn't be telling a guy to do it today, but you couldn't discuss with him a malacha that he will do after Chol HaMoed, provided you don't measure, weigh, or count kederech chol. Not to be involved in marbin and mating, or medairin the sada, which would involve getting the animals over here and shedding their wastes. We learned the halacha of davar avid applies not only to oil, but applies to wine as well. We have a machlekes by wine, whether you can complete the process to avoid even a minor financial loss, hefsed muad. That's a shita of Rabbi Yossi. Go ahead and seal those bottles. Rabbi Yehuda says you have to stop short of that full process. A shinu is required even by davar avid. We learned that halachas of Chol HaMoed are like the halachas of kusim, like isha akara. Each one stands alone by itself. There are halachas that are patar al aser, some that are mutal chatchila. We can't connect. We can't compare one to the other. Each halacha has its own guideline. We learned about davar avid by a davar mechuber lakarka, such as harvesting a field. According to Rabbi Yossi, it's aser. According to Chachamim, it's mutar as well. Pretense, harama, machlekes. We learned about an adam chasher. Several examples of adam chasher shani. It's meant to have a higher standard. Rav Yanai, in seeing that his activities brought about a mishal, was mafkir, his paradise. We learned about bringing in peiros and other types of things on Chol HaMoed. The Gemara says you have to do bitzina, keep it discreet. We had the story of Yosef, who carried in the beams during daytime. As he explained to us, that's in keeping with the Brisa, that is the discreet manner of transporting those beams. Haslach rabba to you, and all the best.